Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description. Koby's Choice by Sword of the Gods, Axe Hand. Morgan single-handedly shattered Koby's faith in the Marines, breaking his dreams. If a pirate is the first one to ever show you kindness in a world run by a corrupt justice, who do you follow? Well, the future king of the pirates, of course. I don't own anything. Adios.
Chapter 82. The mink tribe. Robin thought Ryunosuke and Shikanosuke were cute, but the rest of the crew didn't necessarily share her opinion. Ryunosuke was based on Momosuk's dragon form, or at least on the description that Kinemon had given to Kanjuro during the trip. When it was made obvious partway up, after the Barto Club had sailed away, that the quote-unquote dragon would not have the strength to carry everyone up at once, the not-so-artistic samurai had created another creature, Red Abomination, based on a very rough likeness to Chopper. The more mobile half of the group had then moved to Shikanosuke's back as the pair of animated drawings struggled to climb the ancient elephant's leg. Brook did the most to continuously urge them onward, playing his violin and singing through the day to the amusement of all. Billy flew around them, only periodically landing on particularly large bumps on the elephant's legs to rest now and then. The journey took several hours, but, after a sudden downpour of water that had threatened to turn Ryunosuke and Shikanosuke to ink and was thankfully, but barely, diverted by a combination of Zoro's 1080 caliber Phoenix, Koby's 72 caliber Phoenix, and Nami's air walls, the pirates managed to reach the top of the elephant. The sun was just barely reaching the horizon, the first hints of red only just beginning to color the blue sky. Truly, Kinemon remarked as the drawings panted behind them, never have I ever witnessed such a colossal creature. Nay, I never believed such existed. Mommy, Ace called. Chopper-sensei, Ryu and Shika don't look too good. He pointed at the pair of drawing who looked like they were beginning to melt, their horns and edges beginning to turn to dark ink once more. Having completed their missions, their curtain call comes, Kanjuro said, raising his hands in prayer. Ryunosuke, Shikanosuke, we thank you for your dedication. Robin shed a single tear. Ace and Chopper were much more vocal, the former hugging his mother and the latter hugging Robin as they cried over the fates of the drawings. Billy crooned, his tail drooping. We'll never forget you, Ryunosuke and Shikanosuke. Usopp bawled with his arm around Luffy's shoulders. That's right, Frankie agreed, you two did super. Indeed, Brook agreed, his violin playing a slow dirge, rest now in peace. Ah, the drawings groaned, fading away until each was only a drawing on the elephant's back that counted as ground. Such brave creatures, Kinemon said, closing his eyes to pray like Kanjuro was. Are we seriously going to stand around here for some drawings? Zoro grunted. You're so cold, Nami accused. Meanie, Chopper and Ace yelled. The motionless robot. The cyborg grunted. Heartless, the skeleton cried. Wah, Billy agreed, insulting the swordsman in a language only the bird and Chopper could understand. Fore sword style. Luffy insulted. Luffy, we've been over this, Usopp muttered. Fore sword style is not an insult. Neither is 5 sword style. 9 sword style. Coby sighed. He understood the sadness, but they really didn't need to take it so far. Perhaps Zoro was being more callous than necessary, but the crew had only known the drawings for the hours it had taken to climb the elephant, and said drawing had been in constant torment the entire time. It was not like they were leaving Vivi behind again. Did you forget why we're even here in the first place? Zoro demanded. We need to find our friends and go get Amy. He paused. And the stupid cook too, I guess. Oh Zoro, Robin fake cooed. You do care, I do not. I do not mean to ruin such a tender moment, Kinemon said, but should we not attempt to find secure shelter before sunset? Perhaps there we will find our companions. Who is this companion you're looking for? Usopp asked. I mean, you mentioned them before, but you haven't said anything about them. His name is Riso, Kinemon began. He is a member of the Red Scabbards, much like Kanjuro and I. Kanjuro and me, Robin interrupted, correcting his grammar. What? You are not a Red Scabbard? Kinemon denied, failing to understand. You're a woman. Moreover, a woman not from Wano. You cannot be a member of the samurai of the red scabbards. Perhaps you have the skills to be a kunoichi, but certainly not a samurai. That is not what kunoichi, Chopper asked. That sounds cool, what is it? Kunoichi are female ninja, Kinemon explained. They, like shinobi, are specially trained in infiltration and ninpo. Ninja interrobang. Every single one of the men except Kanjuro questioned at once, Ace included. Nami and Robin looked at each other in confusion. Indeed, the comrade Kanjuro and I seek is a ninja. Does he move through shadows? Luffy asked. Does he throw ninja stars? Zoro questioned. Are ninja as silent as the stories claim? Coby wondered. Does he train by sitting under waterfalls? Usopp asked. Does he shape the elements with his mind in Terabang? Chopper gushed. Can he make copies of himself from shadow? Frankie demanded. Is ninjutsu as supernatural as they say? Brook, the literal undead skeleton, questioned. Is it true ninja can read one's mind? Jinbei wondered. Nin. Ace cheered. Wah, Billy agreed. Yes, indeed. Kanjuro answered. The ninja are nearly as fearsome as the samurai. Perhaps even more so, given their secrecy and stealth. Cool. The men cheered, though Jinbei and, to a point, Zoro were more subdued. Robin offered Nami a small grin of resigned solidarity. I want to meet him, Luffy grinned. Let's go, the gate to the Mikomo dukedom is nearby. Jinbei agreed, pointing a webbed finger. A short ways beyond them stood a large stone archway with a wall leading into a great forest on either side. A watchtower stood on the left-hand side. Upon the tower was a tiny figure nearly too small to make out. Ah, good. I see Bariete is still at his post. Thought it seems the bell is missing. Bariete? Several of the pirates echoed as the former warlord took the lead, walking toward the gate without hesitation. As he did, the figure on the watchtower moved, scrambling down the connected stairs. The rest of the pirates and samurai followed the newest straw hat. Halt! The small figure ordered, drawing close enough that the humans could see he was a monkey, or more likely, a short monkey mink, with a vertically striped red and white top hat and the top part of a yellow suit that hung down past his hips. He had a bandage over one of his cheeks. Eat. Are you Gara friend or foe? State your business. Monkey, Ace gasped. We're related. You are not, Nami sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose with the hand that was not holding her son. Just because our family name is Monkey does not make you one, Ace, much less a mink. Luffy grinned and did a little monkey dance, trying to get Ace to laugh, which the little boy did. Stop that! Nami yelled, punching her husband. Friends, Bariete, Jinbei answered, the mink nearly jumping at the sound of his name. He'd been so focused on the odd trio that he'd taken his eyes off the rest of the group, including the largest creature there. Do you remember me? Bariede's eyes widened. Eat. You Gara are the fish man that visited us some years ago. He realized. Who are these lesser minks? Lesser? Usopp demanded. I'll show you lesser. Coby grabbed the sniper's bag and yanked, choking him. This is the pirate crew I joined recently, Jinbei answered, ignoring the gagging sounds behind him. I understand some of our fellows are already here? Bariede's eyes widened again. Eat. That makes these the Straw Hat Pirates in Terabang. Of course. Usopp preened as his tune completely changed, saddling over to present Luffy, who now sported a rather sizable welt on the top of his head. Behold, worth 550 million berry, Straw Hat, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy raised a hand. Hi. I like your elephant. Have you seen a ninja anywhere? No, Bariete insisted immediately. Eat, thank you, we are proud of Zunmi. I'll ring the backup bell of welcome for you Gara, come. That could have gone so much worse, Coby sighed, happy that they were entering the country both peacefully and as a full group. He would not have been surprised if, somehow, Luffy had run off alone and gotten into a fight because of some misunderstanding. Or worse, if he'd done so while carrying Ace. Hey, monkey guy, I want to see what the country looks like from the tower, come on, Ace. Captain, Coby tried, but it was too late. Before anyone could react, Luffy grabbed his son, shot out his stretchy hand, and rocketed up to the top of the watchtower in a single move. Ha! Nami shuddered, her head in a hand as Baraite gaped at the stretchy captain. Ace is a fire logia now. He can't get hurt. Ace is a fire logia now. He can't get hurt. What is he doing in Terabang? The mink gasped. Yeah, he does that, Usopp shrugged, far less worried, he'll come back. Unless he sees something super interesting, Frankie commented. Like what? A wrecked city, ruins, the ninja. You wouldn't be able to see a ninja, Zoro argued. Eat, Baraite muttered at the same time, about that. By the spirits. Kinemon gasped as the group reached the archway which, it turned out, was supposed to be a gate. Something, however, had clearly plowed through it, the wrought iron warped and mangled on the ground where it had been left, its hinges ripped from the stonework. The forest beyond had a clear trail of destructions marked by fallen trees and broken branches. Whatever happened here? Well, we were attacked, Baraide said. Eat. Jack, the drought, of the beast pirates. He came for a certain man and did not believe us when we said he was not here. He and his men attacked us, but we fought back. The monkey mink offered a smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. One guy did all this? Usopp goggled. Not even Luffy. Luffy could absolutely do something like this, Frankie interrupted. Gotta say, though, it'd be super bad to have to face the guy. Damn it, Frankie, Coby sighed quietly. Now that you said it, it's gonna happen. This is our fault, Kinemon realized, tears coming to his eyes. He fell to his knees and bowed to the mink. Nearly his entire face pressed into the back of the gigantic elephant on which they stood. If Kaido's crew attacked you, our allies. They found nothing here but mink warriors, Baraite insisted, but he seemed confused. Eat, and there is nothing here. I don't know what you Gara are talking about. Come, your crewmates are waiting. Baraite turned and hurried off toward the trail of destruction. The pirates and samurai shared looks before Zoro started wandering off in the wrong direction. Robin grabbed him by the back of his shirt and started leading him like a toddler, ignoring the swordsman's protests. Luffy, Nami called as the others moved to follow. Ace, we're going in. Okay. Luffy jumped from the top of the watchtower, landing with little bounce upon the skin that passed as ground. He laughed, straightening. This place is so cool. There's a massive city right in the middle of the elephant's back, and there's this massive tree, too. It looks like a whale, Mommy, Ace agreed, nodding enthusiastically in his father's arms. Super huge, bigger than this. Ace stretched out his arms as much as he possibly could, his face straining as he tried to go further. Wow. Nami said in the faux impressed voice every parent uses with their child only for said children to realize it years and years later. Bigger than that? It must be some tree. It really is, Luffy offered, his smile as wide as ever. It looks as big as Laboon, but it's a different whale. Of course it's a diff. Wait, as big as Laboon? Are you sure? Sure looked like it. Luffy smiled again. I want to go see it up close. Me too, Ace agreed. Well, let's go meet the locals first. Baraite said they were attacked recently. They might need help. Bari. Luffy blinked. Nami sighed. The monkey guy. Oh, him. If they were attacked, then that explains why the city looked all destroyed and stuff. Let's go check it out. Without waiting for Nami's approval, Luffy shifted Ace into one arm and scooped his wife up with the other. She squeaked at the suddenness of it, wrapping her arms around his neck only a second before the captain took off toward the group, blowing past them in an instant. Luffy, Captain, wait, Coby tried, but the family was gone with Nami's yells and Ace's giggles echoing in their wake. Aw crap. Yo-ho-ho. Brook laughed as Billy squawked and took to the air, trying to fly after them. I suppose this was inevitable. He's gonna get lost and cause an incident, isn't he? Usopp muttered. Yep, Chopper nodded. Probably, Frankie agreed. Most certainly, Robin grinned. We were doing so well, Coby groaned. Why can't we have one island without problems in the new world? Fishman Island, Seacon, Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, and now here. Come on, Shrimp. Life needs some entertainment, Zoro grinned. I've had enough entertainment for the year already, Zoro-sensei. Foo, Robin laughed. Let us not worry about Captain and his family. With Nami there, I'm sure they will find their way to the city sooner or later. Coby sighed in resignation but followed the group, all trailing behind the confused monkey mink. Tell me, what are these fishmen? you spoke of? Kanjuro asked. From this, Fishman Island. Individuals like me, Jinbei said. I am a whale shark fishman. What in Terabang, I thought you were a yokai. Luffy crashed through the forest with reckless abandon, his sturdy body blocking and protecting his wife and son from damage even as he left a small trail of his own behind, though this one was much less noticeable than the massive trail left behind by Jack. He slowed after several minutes, looking around in confusion. Huh? Where is everyone? I thought they were following us. You ran off like you always do. Luffy, Nami growled. We were supposed to follow the mink, he offered to guide us. But guides are boring, Nami, Luffy argued, looking around the clearing. Exploring is so much more interesting. Guides are boring. Ace echoed. Yee. We're not going to find the others if we're lost in the forest. But whatever Luffy was about to protest, it was interrupted by the sudden call that echoed from within the trees. The family of three turned as a brown and green blur appeared from where it had been camouflaged in the forest, charging toward them. Luffy tossed Nami and Ace behind him, meeting the shape with a charge of his own. The impact sent out a small shockwave, bringing the creature to a full stop, the discharge of electricity into the surrounding air going unnoticed by Luffy. The creature appeared to be a minotaur, but Nami suspected it. He, really, was a bull mink. He stood head and shoulders above Luffy with brown fur over the entirety of his body. Horns curved forward atop his head and a nose ring was clamped to his snout. Finally, he was dressed in a sort of green uniform with multiple pockets and a dark green cape. The mink let out a long call that echoed through the trees. Who are you that dares enter our forest? He demanded. We heard no bell. What have you Gara done to Baraite? Who? The monkey guy. Nami explained for a second time. Her eyes widened as she sensed a shift in the air nearby, the woman grabbing Ace and diving away just as a hand swept through the space where she'd been standing. She spun, whipping her perfect clean attack in the direction of the offender, a gust of air pushing another mink backward. This one was covered in black hair and had the appearance of a gorilla. His white tusk-like teeth stood out against his gray face, his underbite covering part of his mustache, and he was dressed in a loose suit jacket with a black ascot. Under his clothes were bandages wrapped around his chest. The gorilla mink beat his chest, suppressing a wince. In the name of Zo, for the protection drive you Gara from our forest. We aren't here to fight, Nami protested, but the mink was not listening. He charged forward, fists raised. Don't hurt my mommy, Ace yelled, his body heating to the point where it was almost painful for Nami to hold him. Fire licked the edges of his mouth as he spoke, smoke rising with each word as he used the one ranged attack he could make work reliably, having practiced extensively on the going Luffy. Fire dragon's roar. Fire spewed forth from the toddler's mouth, forcing the gorilla mink to abandon his attack and dodge, eyes wide. Ace coughed as the flames sputtered, his body temperature going back down. What? The mink questioned, staring at the boy. What form of lesser mink do you Gara intend to burn down the whale forest in Terabang? Goo! The cry was followed almost immediately by the sound of a splintering tree. The gorilla mink looked up just in time to see one of the trees toppling on the edge of the clearing before his vision was filled with the angry face of the beheaded man, the bull mink he'd been fighting nowhere to be seen. Don't you dare touch my family, he roared, socking the gorilla hard enough to send him sprawling. Daddy, Ace beamed. We aren't done yet, the bull mink yelled, leaves rustling as he lifted the tree that had fallen on him with brute strength. We will protect our home, take this. He threw the tree. Wind sword. Nami swung her cleam attack, a variation of her wind wall bringing the air together into a blade similar to, but far slower than, Zoro and Koby's flying slashes. Where their attacks were the momentum of their swords transferred into the air they cut through. Nami's condensed the air itself with localized temperature fluctuation and moved it with wind. The break in the center of the thrown tree was not clean by any measure, but it worked, the two halves falling on either side of the mother and son. What? Without a blade, wah! The bull mink raised his arms, catching the talons of the bird that appeared. Electricity sparked between them, neither affecting the other. Billy, Ace and Nami called, the gigafowl flipping away from the mink. Why won't my electro work? The gorilla mink questioned on the other side of the clearing, Luffy meeting his sparking fists with his own rubbery ones blow for blow. You Gaara are just a lesser mink without electro. Why does the boy breath fire? How are you Gaara so strong? Because I'm the man who will be king of the pirates. He laced his fingers together, throwing them upward as they stretched. Gum gum net. The mink was unable to get out of the way in time, the rubber fingers entrapping him. No matter how hard he fought, the biological netting only stretched around him, never giving way. This can't be, BB, the bull mink yelled, skidding to a halt as he tried to turn, abandoning his charge toward Nami, Ace, and Billy. This meant he missed the final spin of Nami's Cleam attack. Weather egg. Thundercloud, thunderbolt tempo. Lightning lanced downward at Nami's call, but though it landed true, it did not seem to affect the mink. Rather, he seemed empowered by it, turning a grin on the young mother as the remaining ambient electricity sparked between his horns. That wouldn't work on any mink, he said. Because of our electro, we aren't hurt by any electricity. Nami took a step back before her expression of worry turned smug. What about flying gorilla? What are you Gaara? The gorilla mink, BB, slammed into the bull from the side, Luffy having thrown him when it became apparent Nami's most effective go-to attack wouldn't work. The captain landed before his wife and son, planting himself beside Billy facing the pair of minks now tangled on the ground. I thought I said it before, no one touches my family. The minks struggled to their feet, eyeing the humans warily. Electricity arced around them as they pushed their electro to its limits, determined to protect their home from these invaders. Dawn, what is that? Luffy questioned. The bell of welcome? BB muttered, his fists lowering slightly. Baraite did say something about a bell, Nami recalled. If he's ringing that bell, the others should be with him. Like we should have been. She gave a pointed look at Luffy who shivered. A bead of sweat going down his neck. We should go there now. Why yeah, go there, Luffy agreed. Good idea. He tried to whistle casually but could not whistle, so it came out as more of a foo-foo noise. You claim you Gaara came here in a group? The bull mink questioned. That bell is for them? That's right, Nami answered, sending another pointed look Luffy's way. I'm sorry about this. My husband gets so excited about exploring new places that he ran off and dragged me and our son along for the ride. I see, the horned mink said, clearly still skeptical. If that is so, then we shall lead you Gaara there. Almost instantly, the trees around were filled with minks of all kinds, each dressed in the same green clothing as the bull man. Some had swords, others bows, but it was clear their numbers alone presented a clear threat. Whoa, Luffy laughed, clearly not intimidated. I didn't sense you all at all. We of the forest folk's guardians pride ourselves on our stealth, one of the warriors commented. He was a jaguar mink with wavy blonde hair, perching on the branch of a tree. Forest folk? Nami questioned, certain neither Luffy nor Ace would care enough to ask. I thought you were the mink tribe? Minks we are, the man confirmed, but those of us under Lord Nekomamushi live in the forest and hunt by night, protecting our home from amongst the trees. This is in contrast to the musketeers and the city folk of the day. I see. Another figure landed in the clearing, a white-furred rabbit mink rising to her full height. She wore an orange dress that stopped at her thighs and the same green cape of the guardians. Two bunny ears stuck out of her blonde hair and the girl offered the family, and Billy, a thumbs up. Garchu, your guide has arrived, she grinned. I came as soon as I heard the bell, please, follow me. Your friends are waiting for you Taya. We have another group, Nami began. Wanda's getting them, the rabbit mink waved off. They will meet us there, let's go. The backup bell was attached to the top of a watchtower on the outskirts of the city located in the center of Zunisha's back. After leading the group to the main road, Barrett had left them for a moment to officially welcome them to the Faux Island. As he did, the pirates and samurai explored the wreckage of the buildings around, lamenting the state everything was in after the attack. Yes, Baraite had given them the overview, but the destroyed buildings, the X-shaped crosses in the square, and the scattered bloodstains put into perspective how much worse the invasion had been than the monkey mink suggested. This, Coby muttered, a hand reaching forward to touch a cracked picture frame with a smiling mink family on the other side. The bloodstain on the wall beside it told a gruesome tale. This is horrible. What these people went through. Is there anything we can even do at this point? Usopp wondered aloud. Unfortunately not, Robin said. It seems Jack lives up to his moniker with relish. I do not see what condiments have to do with anything, Kinemon commented. Robin sighed quietly, closing her eyes to collect herself. Her thoughts drifted to the dagger, Kochu, still tucked in Zoro's haremaki, and she allowed herself to linger on the gruesome things she could do with such a thing to the idiotic samurai. No, there is something we can do, Zoro grunted, getting Koby's attention. Something we already said we would. We're going to take Kaido down. When we do, he and his men will never do anything like this again. I guess the question, then, Chopper began, is why Jack left in the first place. Baraide said the minks are now in the right flank fortress. If they'd won, wouldn't they be back here by now? Chopper's got a point, Frankie agreed. The place dies, but it feels like it ain't over. Zoro grinned at the thought, prepping Kitetsu for battle. Dawn, 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 that must be the bell Baraide mentioned, Brook said. He hummed, matching the frequency. Coby opened his mouth to respond but stopped, turning. It is, and you Taya are right. The group turned, finding an anthropomorphic dog woman with brown fur and curly, dirty orange hair. She was dressed in a blue, V-neck shirt and a dark blue cape held with a bow. White shorts hugged her hips for mobility, said hips also sporting an orange belt. Gloved hands fiddled with the handle of a saber, and a white cavalier hat with a red plume sat upon her head. Her large tail twitched. Mary said your group would be here soon. You know Mary? Usopp questioned. Where is she? He coughed. And the others? He added. You needn't worry. They are with the townsfolk in the right flank fortress. The woman eyed them, her tail slowly wagging and her canine ears flicking when her eyes landed on Brook. She turned her head and coughed. Ahem. My name is Wanda. I am the Kingsbird of the Dogstorm Musketeer Squad. I will be leading you back. I'm sorry to ask this, Coby began. Our captain got overexcited and ran into the forest with his wife and son. Could you have someone? My fellow Kingsbird Carrot is already on her way, Wanda replied, turning. She licked her snout, but while the action seemed innocent enough, Brook felt a chill up his spine. They will meet us there. Come. Your friends are waiting. Chapter 83. Garchu. The Straw Hats reunite. The destruction was noticeably less as Wanda the canine mink led the bulk of the crew away from the city. That was not to say that there was no evidence of fighting. Broken trees and branches here and there. Carved lines in the elephant's back from swords and the like. But the amount of them reduced further as they walked a clear but obviously new trail through the woods. We're being watched, Coby observed, eyeing the foliage on either side of the path. 50, no, closer to 70 people. Sounds like they super don't trust us, Frankie said. WHWH, what if they're planning of eating us? Usopp whispered. Possibly, Robin commented with a grin at Usopp's panicked choke. We claim to be members of an allied group. Assuming our crewmates have established favorable relations, but until they have confirmation of our identities, suspicion and observance is the better part of hospitality. I don't want to be eaten, Brook muttered. Not that there's much meat on my bones anyway, yo-ho-ho. Wanda muttered something under her breath, something that sounded suspiciously like, that's not a problem, with a licking of her chops. Honestly, Jinbei grunted. No one is getting eaten. The minks don't eat any creature that grows hair. The meat they harvest comes from reptiles and fish. Hear that, shrimp? Zoro grinned. You're the only one at risk. Haha, sensei. Coby rolled his eyes. He highly doubted being an ancient zone would put him on the minks menu. The world is filled with such wondrous things, Kinemon muttered, more to himself than those around. I never believed Lord Odin's fantastical stories before, but perhaps they were all true. I would agree, Kanjuro nodded. Lord Odin's stories would have seemed from a kabuki stage rather than the world, yet here we are. That's not surprising, Chopper said from where Robin had offered to carry him on her shoulder. Despite both having devil fruit powers, you were both convinced it was magic. It is magic. Kinemon rebuffed. How else does one explain the impossible bending the world to become possible? Devil fruits, every straw hat replied as one. Wanda barked out a laugh, grinning back at her charges. You Taya truly are as amusing as Mary said. Then Mary really is okay? Usopp asked. Of course, Wanda replied. Your crewmates saved the lives of our leaders with their timely arrival. They did? Coby questioned. How? Wanda did not answer for a long moment, her ears and tail drooping at the thoughts necessary to answer the pink-haired pirate. As Coby opened his mouth to wave off the question, Wanda heaved a sigh and stopped. You know we were attacked, she began slowly. You saw the destruction on your way in, but you haven't seen many of us minks. When the beast pirates figured out that they couldn't overpower us in a straight fight, they pulled back. We thought we had won, but our leaders warned us to not drop our guards. It didn't make a difference. The pirates could not defeat us in a straight fight, so they released a fog into the air that drastically weakened us. We could no longer fight back when they returned. She closed her eyes, tears building, threatening to roll down her cheeks. They took the strongest of us, those who had not fallen back when the mist came, those of us who were trained warriors. We were strung up, helpless, beaten and worse, she sniffed, turning her face away from them. To those with haki, her sorrow rolled off her like waves. Duke Inwarashi and Lord Nekomamushi were maimed, and still they refused to believe us when we said he did not have what they wanted. If they had you dead to rights, then why did they leave? Zoro wondered. Utea, Wanda answered, wiping her tears with her sleeves. Carrot and I were strung up with the other warriors. As kingsbirds, we have skill equal to any other musketeer or forest guardian. She managed to hear their whispering by faking unconsciousness. When your captain defeated Doflamingo and he was arrested, they went to try to retrieve him, leaving a tiny force that your crewmates and the Heart Pirates were able to subdue when they came up together. Not surprising that they haven't been back, then, Coby thought aloud. The World Economic Journal seems to think Jack's dead given the obituary from the other day. It just said he attacked a government fleet. If he attacked the one carrying Doflamingo, then he would have had to contend with a number of vice admirals, Fujitora, and possibly others, all while surrounded by open ocean. I don't know what power he had, but it clearly wasn't helpful there. He failed. Good thing, too, Frankie muttered. I super didn't want to fight him. Zoro huffed in disappointment. Coby smacked him in the arm, Robin giggled. What about the gas? Chopper asked. That was the state when your crewmates found us, Wanda continued. Using their knowledge, Mary and Grace were able to synthesize an antidote for us. Those of us able to walk and fight are only able to because of their efforts. Jen, Kaku, and Momonosuke helped distribute the medicine. Thank Goda, Chopper breathed. Mary's putting my medical knowledge to good use. Then Momonosuke is here? Kinemon asked. Your medical knowledge? The mink blinked, ignoring the samurai as she had seen Robin do. I understand Mary is not human, but I have not had a chance to ask about that. Mary is what is known as a Klabouterman, Frankie offered, being the one most knowledgeable on the subject. Wanda nodded along, knowing that much. She is the spirit of a ship, formed from the personalities, bonds, and experiences of those who sailed her. She super changed when her ship became too broken to keep sailing. Ice for Brains managed to find a way for her to live on in her manifested form. Because I regularly treated some of the others, studied, and ran tests while on the ship, Mary has that knowledge, Chopper added. She also has some of Grace's chemical knowledge. That plus having Grace there was apparently more than sufficient to figure out whatever chemical was used against you. Ships coming to life, Wanda mused. Truly, it was a shock to learn such was possible. Kanjuro agreed. And yet, in our brief time away, we have met several such spirits. Our comrade Aizu even has one of his own. Yes, Captain Beppo and the Heart Pirates have told us about their own spirit still bound to their ship. They, too, assisted in the distribution of the antidote, and this was after we sent them away when the fighting got too dangerous for outsiders like them to risk their own lives for ours. Captain Beppo, Coby blinked. Such honor should be expected from Lord Odin's allies, Kinemon nodded, talking over the younger swordsman. Such honor should not have been worth your lives, Jinbei rebuffed. It was not all for honor, Wanda denied. Though he may have been born here on Zou, Beppo is not one of the mink tribe. He does not follow our customs nor does he hold any loyalty to our rulers. Zou is only a meeting place for his crew. We could not trust them to be immune to bribery or coercion. La Dono's crew would never, Kinemon began. That is a fair point, Robin interjected. It would be difficult to trust pirates if one is beset upon by such. Only when offered no other option is such a possibility entertained, or if the crew in question has clear, personal animosity toward the other. You didn't think their involvement could have changed the battle in your favor? Jinbei tried. Perhaps, Wanda admitted, but Duke Inuarashi and Lord Nekomamushi deemed the risk to an ally and the potential betrayal too much combined. If their former captain, Law, Utea called him? If Law had arrived and ordered them to side with Jack, we would have been further demoralized. Not like it matters now, anyway. They're in the right flank fortress with your crewmates now. Why did the beast pirates attack? Robin wondered, fishing for information. What could they have wanted that would warrant Dev Saw in the city? Surely not blind cruelty? It appears that is what it was, Wanda said. It began 17 days ago, a month and a half after the Heart Pirates arrived. Kurao City was a bastion of peace and tranquility. Unlike the forest folk under Lord Nekomamushi who are all warriors trained in combat, stealth, and survival, the vast majority of the city folk under Duke Inuarashi live lives without strife. Even rivalries and dislike were dealt with amicably. Only the musketeers like myself chose lives of training over the calm, happy existence of life in the city. Bariate warned us of the beast pirates' approach, but he barely escaped and the musketeers at the gate were not so lucky. Led by Jack, the drought, the beast pirates entered the city. He possesses the power to turn into a massive, terrifying creature. The prehistoric mammoth. A mammoth in Terabang, Chopper gasped. He blinked. What's a mammoth? It is an ancient species of elephant, Robin told him. I would say they are thought extinct, but I believe Little Garden proves the futility of such absolute statements. That's where Grace, Jin, and Billy got sick with the 7-day disease, wasn't it? The what? Frankie, Brooke, and Jinbei questioned. It's where I got my ancient zone devil fruit, too, Coby confirmed. And where we met the giants Dory and Bragi, Usopp grinned. That sounds amazing, Wanda muttered, her tail wagging slowly. Just say the word and I shall regale you with the tales of our brave adventures. Usopp offered. From fake butlers to evil fishmen. From the 100-year duel of giants to the revolution of a snowy kingdom. From the rescue of an ancient land from a man of sand to our travels into the sky where we partied with angels and skywolves and defeated a man calling himself a god. From bitter loss and kidnapping to brave triumph over a secret spy organization. From a land crawling with the walking dead to the bubbling mangroves of Sabaody. The way you tell stories, it would take months, Coby said, rolling his eyes. I believe I've said the rest, Wanda finished. Jack attacked us with his zone form, countless men who seemed to laugh at everything, and a number of men with unnatural powers. Unlike devil fruit powers, these men could only change parts of their bodies, but they were far more resilient than the laughing ones. We held out until they retreated and released the gas, and then your crew showed up. Speaking of, how much farther is this fortress where they are? Brooke questioned. All this walking is wearing my feet to the bone. Not that that's hard since I'm a skeleton, yo-ho-ho. We are nearly there, Wanda answered. One of her ears flicked. At the same time, Coby turned as 4 lights moving very quickly appeared in the range of his observation. Yahoo, there's everyone. Hey, guys, Luffy, slow down. Hi, everyone. Luffy landed beside the group, his wife and child in his arms as his landing kicked up a dust cloud. Nami looked shell-shocked, clinging to him as if her life depended on it. Considering how fast he had been traveling, it very well could have. Darn it, Luffy, she yelled, smacking him ineffectually, you almost killed me. But I didn't, the captain rebuffed with a smile. You're fine. Ace is fine. We're not fighting the minks anymore. Anymore? Coby and Usopp demanded. Wah, Billy sighed, alighting on a branch above as a white-furred rabbit mink touched down beside Wanda. I found them. Easy. Thank you, Carrot, Wanda nodded. To Utea, Captain Luffy, Nami, Ace, and Billy. My name is Wanda. To the rest, this is my fellow Kingsbird Carrot. Nice to meet you, Utea. The excitable rabbit girl offered a salute. Kingsbird of the Guardians under Lord Nekomamushi, I'm Carrot. Guys, be nice. Carrot's great. She can keep up when me and Ace are playing tag. She's even faster than Usopp. Ace and I, Robin corrected. Nami sighed at the situation quickly spiraling out of control. Coby loudly cleared his throat. Captain, can we get moving? We have some crewmates we haven't seen for a long time, remember? Right. Let's go. Where are we going again? The right flank fortress, Captain. We're here, Wanda announced. Excellent timing. We didn't have a rain-ruption to risk getting swept up in. One is due soon, however. Halt. A voice called as the gate to the right flank fortress came into view through the leaves. A pair of guards dressed in the same blue cape as Wanda stood on either side of the entrance, each with a hand resting on the matching sword at their hips. The gate to the fortress itself was easily 12 feet tall and made of whole trunks and branches all lashed together with vine. It looked almost crude in a way, but Frankie noted that it would be able to withstand quite a few heavy hits, and that was really all such doors needed to do. Who are you, Gara? State your business here. Open the gates. Wanda ordered them. The Straw Hat pirates have arrived. The Straw Hats? One guard echoed. They're Mary and Grace's friends. The other said, why didn't you, Gara, just say so? The two guards beat a rhythm against the gate before, with a creak, it creaked and opened. The Straw Hats are here, Garchu. Minks lined not only the central path but the makeshift structures, the ramparts, and the trees as well. There were hundreds, maybe more, in all shapes and sizes from the smallest marsupials to the larger bears, giraffes, and elephants. Each and every one of them looked ecstatic to see them. Garchu. Welcome. Though the structures and ramparts were on the ground, Coby and the more observant noticed that there were massive pineapple-like fruits in the trees that appeared to have been hollowed out and repurposed as housing, each with a few minks, typically family units, waving from carved-out balconies. It was odd, in a way, to see so many anthropomorphic creatures at once and know not a one was caused by any devil fruit. Despite the noise and the color and the hordes of people, Coby and the others found their eyes drawn to the smaller group coming toward them, two in particular dodging around or flipping over minks in their path to the newly arrived pirates. Coby felt a warm smile pull at his lips as he caught sight of the red hair under a white trilby hat. She wore a dress diagonally striped with dark blue and yellow. He surged forward. Grace. Coby. The pair embraced as, beside them, Mary jumped into Usopp's arms with a yell of, Uncle Usopp. Coby spun his lover in a circle, knocking her hat off, while Kaku, Jin, and Momonosuke approached at much more sedate paces. We got him, Coby muttered into Grace's hair. We got the bastard. Luffy beat him into the ground. No surprise there. Her response was muffled against his chest. Sunny told us about your call, but I knew you all could do it. Father, Momonosuke called, running forward, still in his pink kimono, though it had been washed since the crew had last seen him. Kinemon knelt, letting the boy grab the front of his kimono. Kanjuro, you're still alive as well. That we are, Momonosuke, Kinemon replied with a smile. What is more, we made contact with Izudono. He and his allies have agreed to assist us in our fight to liberate Wano. They shall fight alongside us when the time comes. Izu? Momonosuke questioned. The name sounded familiar. Indeed, another one of the red scabbards like Kanjuro and I. Kanjuro and me, Robin corrected, you are not. Robin bloomed an arm to smack the samurai in the back of his head. Zoro coughed to cover a laugh at the man's misfortune. Wonderful to see you again, Horn, Kaku grinned as Grace let Coby go. The pair grasped hands, growing into their hybrid forms with matching grins. Somewhere in the crowd, a couple of female minks made squee sounds. Coby guessed the minks thought Kaku cut a pretty impressive figure given he donned a light green outfit with many pockets and a green cape similar to the one Carrot wore. He had also found a matching baseball cap with an artist rendering of Zunisha on's hung at his hips. In his man-beast form, Kaku looked quite a bit like a giraffe mink, and was probably just as strong as any musketeer or guardian. Alright, stop it, Grace told him. He's my boyfriend, not yours. She looked around as the pair shrunk back down to their human forms, her eyes furrowing, but it was Jin that voiced the problem she sensed. Where are Sanji and Amy? The Logia asked. He wore a button-up with a repeating lightning bolt pattern and long pants as well as an open zip-up hooded jacket in a muted purple. Coby figured Jin would have been the one to ask given he was closest to both. That's a complicated case, Coby began. They were taken, Usopp interrupted, storyteller that he was. Amy sold Sanji to the Big Mom pirates. What in Terabang? The pirates that had been unaware chorused. Big sis would never, Grace yelled. The big mom pirates? Kaku continued, his eyes going wide. He started muttering all the facts and statistics he remembered about the Emperor-led crew. No way. Mary gasped. She, too, had changed clothes and now wore a simple, long-sleeved white dress with a long, blue cape. A belt around her waist carried her hammers. Why'd she do salmon like that? Jin muttered. He smacked the side of his head a moment later, trying to shut up his little secondary voice. Here, read this. Nami handed over the invitation the crew had received back in Dressrosa. Grace, Jin, Mary, Kaku, and Momonosuke pressed together, trying to all read the invitation at the same time. 1 week's time, Jin read aloud. How much time do we have left? About 3 days, Robin answered, raising a hand to her cheek. Poor Sanji. He may die of blood loss during the honeymoon. I don't think that's the main issue here, Usopp deadpanned. Kaku swallowed hard, staring at the piece of paper. Mary elbowed him in the ribs, forcing him to let out the breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. What's up with you, Kaku? Zoro questioned. It's the former assassin sighed. Mary and I had a little spat with the Vinsmoke family, back when she landed in Water 7. One of them conned me out of instructions to the 6 powers. And seems to now be getting married, Mary said, glancing at the zone beside her. So, does this mean my bet pays out? Jin asked. What bet? One from when we learned about Sanji's family back on Fishman Island. I said his family'd be trouble at some point. It seems I was the only one caught completely flat-footed, Jinbei grunted. Yeah, sorry, Coby apologized. We learned Sanji was a Vinsmoke prince back on Fishman Island. It kind of never came up again after that. Except when I was teasing Kaku about the time he kissed Sanji's sister, Mary grinned. The former agent did an impressive impression of a fish out of water as the rest of the crew turned to stare at him. Mary, excuse me, a voice yelled, dragging the pirates' attention to a lion mink with a thin, curly mustache and the getup of the musketeers. You Gara are the Straw Hat Pirates, yes? The crewmates of our saviors? That's us, Luffy confirmed with a grin. I see, I am pleased to inform you Gara that Duke Inuarashi has awoken and is willing to see you Gara. The elephant below them rumbled, the faux ground shaking with the sound of Zunisha's call. Quickly now, the lion mink yelled. A rainruption is coming, we must move. It seemed every mink and the straw hats that had been around knew what that meant, even Momonosuke grabbing Kinemon and Kanjuro's hands to try to drag them along. A rainruption? Robin questioned as the minks corralled the pirates up bridges into the structures in the trees. Wanda had mentioned such when they'd approached the gates but had not had the chance to elaborate. Twice a day, the great elephant cleans its back, Carrot offered, helping to direct them toward their goal. The water floods over everything, making the ground dangerous, but the rainruptions bring water that can be purified and fresh fish. We couldn't live without it. You don't have to worry about it here, Wanda insisted. As long as you stay under the roofs, you won't get swept away. In the distance, the trunk of the elephant rose like a looming volcano. Wanda and Carrot all but pushed the pirates into the closest room, which appeared to be the temporary home of a family of marmoset minks. Garchu, the mother greeted. Garchu, her 4 children echoed. Garchu to you, too, Mary grinned, accepting their offered hugs readily. The ground, and what felt like the rest of the world, gave a mighty shake as the elephant let out another, louder call. Through the window, the pirates watched as a wall of water fell over everything. Branches snapped and sea kings roared as they came into violent contact with each other. The water hit the ground with a rush, the current dragging along any debris that had been left on the pathway, but no mink nor pirate fell prey to the sudden current. Luffy, Ace, Usopp, and Chopper gawked as a shark jumped out of the water after a fish, only for a sea king several times its size to snap it out of the air in turn. Before it could retreat back into the water, a musketeer shot out of one window and punched it, a sharp crack and a whiff of ozone marking the creature's death. Another musketeer came out, the pair wrangling the sea king out of the current. We've got dinner. One of them grinned at the pirates. Sea king meat and fruit, fresh as can be. Cool, Luffy and Ace cheered, stars in their eyes. We have more to do before dinner, I'm afraid, Wanda said, making the father and son pout. The Duke is waiting, and I'm sure Lord Nekomamushi will want to speak to you as well. We must hurry, though. The battle ruined our country's sleep cycle, and old habits have become an inconvenience. What is that supposed to mean? Frankie wondered aloud. It's pretty simple, if a bit silly. Mary began as Wanda and Carrot led the pirates out onto the hanging bridges, the water draining away quickly below. You see, the Mikomo dukedom actually has two rulers. Duke Inuarashi, who rules in city and the day, and Lord Nekomamushi, who rules the forest and the night. The problem is that the two hate each other with every fiber of their beings, and a rivalry between many of the musketeers and guardians sprang up because of it. To avoid unnecessary fighting, the minks of the day and minks of the night trained themselves to fall asleep at a certain time every day. Duke Inuarashi and the city folk fall asleep exactly when the minks of the night wake up and vice versa. This was a useful advantage during the battle. Wanda chimed in. At first, Carrot and I were the only ones outside of the normal cycle, and the musketeers and guardians were able to flawlessly trade off and rest while the beast pirates were not offered the same luxury. But despite continuously fighting the Duke and the Lord, Jack never relented and more pirates just kept arriving. Eventually, so many were injured that we were forced out of our usual sleep cycle to keep up the battle. We can't get back to it until everything's back to normal, Carrot finished. The group arrived at one of the largest of the treehouses, a pair of musketeers standing on either side of the entranceway. They waved the pirates, the samurai, and their escorts inside without preamble. Within the building was the largest mink most of the pirates had seen so far. He was a canine mink like Wanda with brown fur and a white muzzle. His darker ears flopped downward and his regal clothing was mostly blue in color. Bandages were wrapped around his body in various places, most prominently around his head and chest. He was sitting up in a massive bed and turned as the pirates and their allies entered, offering them a toothy smile. I finally meet the rest of our Savor's crew. It is nice to make your acquaintance. It's you, Kinnaman said, tears coming to his eyes. He stepped out of the group, walking forward as if trying to hold himself back. Inu, it's really you. Kinnaman, Inuarashi replied, his voice tinged with affectio group. Kanjuro, my old friends. Kin, you know this guy? Luffy blinked. But of course, Kinnaman sniffled, wiping his tears on his sleeves. Inu and Neko are members of the Red Scabbards alongside myself, Kanjuro, Aizu, and Riso. That we are, Inuarashi confirmed, moving as if to get out of the bed. A goat mink in a doctor's coat and a squirrel mink in a pink nurse outfit rushed forward, both trying to warn the Duke against getting out of bed. The ruler waved them away, throwing off the covers, revealing the one injury from the battle that would stay with him for all the rest of his life. His right leg was missing from above the knee, the stump now covered with fresh bandages. Chopper joined the mink doctor and nurse in their fretting over the Duke. My friend, what have they done to you in Terabang? Kinnaman cried dramatically. Pa, this was nothing. The large canine mink waved off as Chopper started going over the notes from the local medical professionals. They had easily identified him from Mary's description. An arm from the stupid cat and a leg from me was a small price to pay, Kinnaman, for I can tell you now that Riso is alive and well. He is, Kinnaman grinned, his tears starting to return. We owe you and the mink tribe so much. You owe us nothing. This is the least we can do for such long-standing allies, and when it comes time to avenge Lord Odin, you will have our steel as well. And as of his declaration, Inuarashi, the goat mink doctor Miyagi, the squirrel mink nurse Tristan, and the musketeers outside the door all promptly fell asleep where they stood. Chapter 84. Dog and Cat. An arm from the stupid cat and a leg from me was a small price to pay, Kinnaman, for I can tell you now that Riso is alive and well. He is, Kinnaman grinned, his tears starting to return. We owe you and the mink tribe so much. You owe us nothing. This is the least we can do for such long-standing allies, and when it comes time to avenge Lord Odin, you will have our steel as well. And as of his declaration, Inuarashi, the goat mink doctor Miyagi, the squirrel mink nurse Tristan, and the musketeers outside the door all promptly fell asleep where they stood. Mary burst out laughing as the minks slumped over, Chopper crying out in surprise. The only two who had not been affected were Carrot and Wanda, the pair sighing and offering each other soft chuckles. What happened? Usopp asked, pulling out Kabuto to poke Dr. Miyagi with the handle. The goat mink rolled over and snored, scratching his stomach. Ace laughed and hopped out of his father's arms, joining Usopp in poking the sleeping doctor despite Chopper's protests. "This is the sleep cycle I told you about," Mary answered. 6 o'clock on the dot. "Nya," a voice roared from the distant forest. "I suppose that would be Nekomamushi," Jinbei deduced, a hand on his chin. "I never met him during my last visit." "The stupid cat is as nice as he sounds," Inuarashi sighed, rubbing his head as he sat up once more. He blinked groggily and yawned. Mary leaned over and whispered something to Carrot, who nodded and took her leave, hopping out the door. Still getting used to being awake at this time again. "Inu, my friend," Kinemon began. "What happened between you and Neko? You were the best of friends as I recall." "I wish I could tell you Garo, we fight for a good reason," Inuarashi said, looking down as Chopper, Grace, and Mary worked together to wake his medical staff. "In truth, however, we both know that our fight is petty." "That does not answer my question," the samurai pressed. The Duke was quiet for a long moment, looking over the group that stared at him, other than Wanda, who was making eyes at the delicious-looking walking skeleton. Inuarashi felt his own mouth water slightly at the sight. With rapt attention, he looked away. "We can't bear to remember," he finally answered, bringing a hand to his face. "I have thought about it every day of the last 20 years. At first we blamed each other for not being able to do anything that fateful day, but I believe we each blame ourselves, and seeing the other only reminds us. We hated ourselves for running, for abandoning Ugara and returning here to Zo after." The mink trailed off, seeming to remember something traumatic. Kinemon and Kanjuro bowed their heads as well, most likely remembering the same event. They were silent for a long moment. "Apologies," Jin muttered, cutting into the conversation. "I don't mean to ruin your reminiscence, but we're on a time crunch to get Ta Sanji's wedding and rescue him and Amy. Speaking of, how long would it take us to get there? I managed to find some rough maps back in Dressrosa after we got the invitation," Nami replied. "Between what I could guess and our relative position from where we started, I'd say we could make it with some time to contact Sanji if we leave tomorrow. The earlier the better, though. We don't want to offend an emperor if we don't have to, and who knows what the weather will do." "I see," Inuarashi grunted. "In that case, we will need to get started if you are to learn what you must to help Lord Momonosuke." Too late did he see Momonosuke with his finger before his lips. "I'm sorry," Coby said for the rest of the group. "Lord Momonosuke? I thought he was your son," Kinemon, Brook commented, every pirate eye and or empty eye socket turning to look at the samurai in question. He could not look more sheepish if he had a zone devil fruit. "And no, that's..." Momonosuke panicked, a poof of smoke turning him into his dragon form, the reveal causing Inuarashi to recoil so strongly that he almost threw himself off the bed. Kanjuro, too, jumped with surprise, having never seen Momonosuke's transformation. Wanda blinked at the sight. "Ahem, yes, well," Kinemon muttered, looking everywhere except the pirates as if he would find the answers he was looking for between the floorboards or somewhere on the ceiling. I may have given a false impression of Momonosuke's paternity for, F for safety?" Kinemon, Kaku questioned, using his trained assassin voice in a way that sent a chill down the man's spine. None of the pirates had heard him use such since the debacle at Eni's lobby. "Would you care to explain why your supposed son is being called a lord by the Duke of Zo while you are just an old friend to him? This is clearly a misunderstanding." Inuarashi tried as the other daytime minks started to rouse themselves from their habitual slumber. "No, Inu," Kinemon said, holding up a hand. "I suppose the secret has been kept long enough. Even if you pirates now abandon us, some of our oldest allies have been found. The truth is," Kinemon paused, looking to Momonosuke, who appeared like a deer in the headlights, even if that was not a turn of phrase understood in the world. Kinemon knelt first before the pink dragon, followed by Kanjuro and, with great difficulty given his injury, Duke Inuarashi. Momonosuke's full name is Kazuki Momonosuke, the son of Kazuki Oden and Kazuki Toki and the true heir to the title of the Shogun of Wano. To those who knew the title, it was a very impressive claim. None of the Straw Hats, however, not even Robin, had enough understanding of the governing system of Wano to grasp the full gravitas of the reveal. Zoro was the only one of their number with any chance of having encountered the term in full understanding, but he had never been interested in such things as a boy back in Shimotsuki village. The archaeologist hummed, placing a finger on her chin. I take it that the title of shogun is a high-ranking, inherited position, then? The shogun is the ruler of Wano, Kinemon replied, seemingly aghast at the intelligent woman's lack of knowledge. To anyone from Wano, not knowing the importance of the shogun was grounds to repeat the most basic of schooling. To anyone outside of Wano, the isolated nation's ways were a mystery. The title was stolen by the man who currently holds it, one Korizumi Orochi. Kinemon spat the name as if it were a swear word. Both Kanjuro and Inuarashi scowled at the name, the latter baring his teeth as a growl rumbled in his throat. Orochi is currently backed by the pirate called Kaido, Kinemon continued. Together, the man choked up, Kanjuro crying behind him. They killed Lord Odin after making a fool of him. They burned down his home and drove us out to sea. Even so, we will free Wano from their oppressive rule or die an honorable death in the process. It will not be easy, but we will see Lord Momonosuke seated on the throne of his august father with our dying breaths if it must be so. You will have my fang and steel, Inuarashi swore. Mine and the power of all the minks behind you. Friendship is so beautiful, Frankie blubbered. I'm not crying, you're crying. Oh, is that all? Luffy grinned. We said we'd help already, didn't we? Besides, Law wanted to take down Kaido next, right? Coby noted the pause in his captain's speech as well as the more respectful switch. He was not the only one, as those who had been made to leave Dressrosa early nearly stared at him. He did say Doflamingo was selling the smile fruits to Kaido, Mary nodded after a few seconds. And Velo's a member of the crew, Jin added. Mother, Nami started to swear only to catch herself. I completely forgot about her back on Dressrosa. She must have gotten turned into a toy. Do you think they caught her? Usopp wondered. Afterward, I mean? Honestly, I doubt it, Jinbei grunted. Unless you had Viola and the soldiers actively looking for her, I would surmise she'd be able to slip out. Only one, Grace muttered. Alright. So Momo's the rightful lord of an island of samurai or whatever. Anyone else have something to declare? Mary looked at Kaku. The former agent glared back, defiantly silent. Right. Well, let's move things along, shall we? Usopp coughed. Duke Inu said the ninja's alive. He is, Inuarashi nodded as he let the mink doctor and nurse help him back onto the bed. To prevent him from interfering in the battle and revealing himself to those wanting him, we were forced to restrain him within the whale tree. Now that the battle is over and the rest of you have arrived, it would be best to go free him, yes? Even if that means, his face soured, as if he'd just eaten a particularly sour lemon. We must pass through the forest. Indeed, Kinemon agreed. We must meet with Neko as well. He's injured too, isn't he? Chopper asked, having mostly agreed with Miyagi's handling of the Duke's unwanted amputation and only recommended a couple of medicines that were not commonly used for such but easy to obtain. Yes, Dr. Miyagi bleated. While Duke Inuarashi lost a leg, Lord Nekomamushi's silence cost him a hand. Their loyalty quite literally cost them an arm and a leg, Robin mused, amused by the dour literality of their circumstance. I would like to meet him and look over his injury as well, Chopper requested. He usually takes a bath right after he wakes, Inuarashi began. Bathing in Terabang? Chopper demanded. With an injury like that in Terabang, he better be taking the proper steps. Water that's not properly treated can cause serious infection. Not to worry, Dr. Chopper, Mary grinned, her smile stretching a bit too wide for simple self-satisfaction. I had a feeling you'd say something like that, so I asked Carrot to go get you a guide. Allow me to introduce the head nurse of the Forest Guardians. Milky. The pirates and samurai turned to the new mink standing in the doorway. Most of them blinked, but Chopper's jaw nearly hit the floor. She was a reindeer mink, nearly as tall as Robin with a set of long, rounded antlers. Her green guardian cape was draped over a simple, short, white dress with a green crocodile boarskin belt that showed how her hips flared outward. She had blonde hair that fell to her shoulders and her nose was capped with a small brick red bead. Garchu, she said with a smile. I'm Milky. As Lady Mary said, I am the head nurse of the Guardians. Utea must be Dr. Chopper. I've heard quite a lot about Utea from Lady Mary and Lady Grace. Chopper stuttered, apparently having forgotten how to speak. Mary bit her finger and turned, doing her absolute best to not let her laughter be heard. She'd wanted so badly to be there when Chopper met the medically trained reindeer Mink, and his reaction was just as priceless as she'd been hoping for. "We know where Chopper's retiring when we're done sailing," Usopp muttered to Jin beside him. "Like you aren't going back to Gecko Island," the Logia replied. "I'm not gonna go back to settle down. Shall we get going?" Milky asked. Most of the pirates couldn't tell a change in the Mink's demeanor, but Nami and Robin each noted a flash of satisfaction in her eyes and smile as she turned away from the still stunned human reindeer. "I think we should," Mary nodded, clearly pleased with the results of her manipulation. "Neko's place is at the base of the whale tree, and we need to go there anyway, right?" "I shall join you shortly," Inuarashi said. "Dr. Miyagi, Nurse Tristan, if you Gara could check to see if my new leg is ready?" "Right away, my Duke." The pair hurried out of the room as Wanda and Carrot took lead of the visitors. Milky fell in with Chopper at the back of the group, her topic of how Nekomamushi had been cared for since the battle bringing a little more sense to him, and he jogged to keep up with the Mink nurse. "Why do we need to go to the whale tree?" Nami asked, bundling Ace into her arms, the little boy wrapping his own arms around his mother's neck while she held him against her shoulder. "You don't want to see it?" Luffy asked. "I bet it's even cooler up close." "The whale tree is considered the most important place on Zou," Wanda offered. "The Guardians have sworn to watch over the forest, but their home and base is located close to the tree so they can always protect it from harm. Lord Nekomamushi rarely leaves the Guardian's dwelling," Carrot said as the group reached a corral of some sort. Inside were a small host of large crocodile-like beasts with rotund bodies and long legs. He acts as the very last line of defense for the whale tree. "What are those?" Luffy asked as Wanda opened the gate. One of the creatures noticed her and ran over immediately, nuzzling its face against her. "These are crocodile boars," Carrot answered. "We call them Wanies, and they can both run and swim, so they're the perfect mounts to help us get around Zunisha's back. That one is Wanda's personal Wani." "Wani? You named your Wani after what it's already called?" Usopp questioned. "That's so unoriginal." "It's the kind of name Luffy would come up with," Grace commented. "I was little," Wanda defended with a small pout, petting the creature's snout. "Anyway, Carrot and Milky, grab one each. We won't be able to fit the straw hats on just two. Even three will be a bit tight." "We'll manage," Mary insisted as the rabbit and reindeer Minks each picked a Wani of their own. Under the Minks' orders, the beasts knelt so the pirates could climb into their backs, though, as promised, space was limited. Grace happily reduced this problem by sitting on Koby's lap. Nami opted to carry Ace and ride on Billy alongside the group, trusting that the Giga Fowl could easily keep up. Luffy sat on Wani's snout, much to the chagrin of the animal. So, Wanda began as the trio of Wanies trudged through the forest. "I was there to hear about it, but I can't say I understand why Utea have to leave so quickly. 2 of our crewmates were abducted from Dressrosa during a chaotic battle there several days ago," Robin answered. The Minks nodded, knowing it was the outcome of that battle that caused Jack to leave in an attempt to free Doflamingo only to fail. "We received an invitation the following day, inviting us to a forced wedding between our chef and a child of Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin. The other crewmate who was abducted spent over a year in Big Mom's territory, which is the most likely root cause of this predicament. How and why, however, we do not know. There are several Minks who chose to move there," Carrot thought aloud, humming slightly. "I think Peckham's joined her crew officially, didn't he? He's got a wanted poster and everything." "He did," Wanda agreed. "We have no way of contacting him, but he would help Utea if he understood how Utea saved us from destruction." "I don't think we really need it," Coby said, trying and failing to suppress his blush at the way Grace was rubbing her cheek against his. It seemed she'd taken quite the liking to the Mink's physical greeting habits and was making up for lost time during their separation. It was only an invitation. "I'm more worried about not making a scene and accidentally setting her off. I mean, she's an emperor for a reason, so I'd rather not fight with her until we're ready and we need to." "Dino Bro's right," Frankie agreed. "If it's just a wedding, I don't see any super harm in playing along." "We must attend, though," Jinbei grunted. Big Mom is one of the strongest pirates in the world, but she is also notorious for her mood swings and selfish nature. If she does not get what she wants, the offending individual's death is usually the best outcome for them. If we were to not arrive or arrived late, she would declare our crew as an enemy and send her subordinates after us. We could take them, Luffy swore. Not without casualties, the fishman rebuffed. Individually, we are likely stronger than the vast majority of her forces, but she has overwhelming numbers on her side, including Expenreplace easily. What a mean lady, Ace decided. Summing up the situation, we gotta go get Uncle Sanji and Auntie Amy back before the bigger mommy is super duper ultra mean. So, I've been reading over this invite, Mary announced from where she was seated with Kaku, Chopper, Frankie, and Kinemon, with Momonosuke draped around his shoulders, on Milky's weenie. It says that Amy was the one who arranged for Sanji's marriage, right? You don't think she'd pick someone who'd treat him poorly, do you? What do we do if he actually, likes this pudding girl? Leave him behind, Zoro yawned. Take her with us, Luffy answered at the same time. Nay, Frankie, what if we make Sunny bigger? Zoro will start getting lost again. Yo-ho-ho, Brook laughed. Frankie considered the question as Zoro pulled out the dagger in his haremaki and tried to stab the musician in his non-existent eye. I'd like to have more Adam Wood if we're adding rooms, the cyborg said over Brook's cries for mercy. What we have now is for super emergency repairs like what happened with that Z guy. It's not enough to make actual expansions. Not anymore, anyway. Plus, we'd have to beach her to make sure everything is super sound and used to best effect. That'd involve pulling her ship apart. We can't just build, up. Where does Adam Wood come from, anyway? Usopp asked. I know you bought it on the black market, and I'm still a little mad that your goons had to beat me up to do it, but where does it grow? I'm not really sure, Frankie admitted. I know it's somewhere in the New World, but the stuff is super rare because no one really knows where to get it. All the sellers demand anonymity. Not even Boss Iceberg could track it, Mary added. He tried several times while I was his secretary, but we kept hitting dead ends. Best guess says it changes hands multiple times, Kaku agreed. Each pass raises the price. Maybe the government knows, but we were never told nor ordered to investigate even while in our roles at Water 7. The group was silent for a long moment, each considering what they knew about the New World, how much they didn't know, and the odds of them being able to make any accurate guess. There was a moment of panic when the group was set upon by some large, blood-sucking, bee-like insects that Wanda called suches, but a quick fight left that swarm exterminated, each one to an individual killed as per the mink's request. They were, apparently, an invasive species the beast pirates had released onto Zou as a lasting inconvenience for the mink tribe. Where they originated, no one knew. Shish, they're gone now, Coby whispered, holding Grace close as they approached the Guardian's dwelling. She'd gotten over her fear of bees for the most part, but most bees weren't the size of her torso with a literal taste for blood. Garchu, the Guardians and their much smaller civilian population greeted as the three Wainies and their passengers emerged from the treeline. Unlike the destroyed stone of the city or the new, natural structures of the right flank fortress, the Guardian's dwelling was both natural and weathered, its building's colors all dull and muted from countless rain-ruptions. Moss grew on most of the buildings, providing them with a naturalizing camouflage that almost made the place look abandoned, if it weren't for the people greeting them in the central area. It's Straw Hat and his family. A couple of minks yelled to each other. They emerged from the crowd, nearly blocking Wanda's weenie. Hey, Straw Hat, remember us? Oh, it's Luffy trailed off. It's the stupid guys that attacked us and tried to hurt Mommy. Ace remembered, his fists flaring with fire. Oh, those guys, yeah, sorry about that. The bull and gorilla minks apologized. Our job is to protect the forest, you gotta know. Do not blame them, a voice demanded. A jaguar mink leaping from the branches of the closest tree to land between the pair and the mother, child, and large bird. Roddy and BB were only acting on my orders. Captain Pedro. Carrot called by way of greeting. Luffy blinked, lowering his raised fist. So, you're not the pigeon guy, he realized. That's good. I was afraid I'd have to fight you. He barely looks anything like Lucci, Kaku yelled. Lucci's a leopard, anyway. Make way, Milky called, earning a round of, welcome back, Milky. Garchu, From the assembled minks, Pedro, Roddy, and Bibi stepped aside, glad they weren't going to need to fight the Straw Hats further and that the misunderstanding had been forgiven. Milky spurred her Waney forward toward the largest, most moss-covered building, and Coby noted that Chopper looked almost dazed as he held her waist to stay on while Mary grinned behind him. The group dismounted and entered, finding the interior was both more modern and better maintained than the outside made it appear. Lord Nekomamushi's lodging are upstairs, Milky explained, leading the way with a smile. The group followed, Chopper at her heels and the samurai right behind. At the top of the stairs, they found a cat in a bath. Nya. Nekomamushi sang to himself in a massive tub, bubbles frothing around his waist. His yellow fur was covered in bandages and his left eye was surrounded by a thick, pink scar that thankfully did not interfere with the eye itself. His smirk was all sharp teeth and someone had wedged a spoon into the bandages around the stump of his left hand, which he was using to scoop food out of the wide bowl floating in the water with him. A rather beaten-down sheep mink in medical garb sat in the corner. Lasagna. What do you think you're doing in Terabang? Chopper yelled, startling the giant feline mink. Nekomamushi was, after all, the same height as Inuarashi. With an injury like that, bathing is a serious risk. Especially with soap like that. Out, now. Nekomamushi hummed. And who are you, Garrett, to give me orders? He's the one I learned everything from, Mary offered, picking up Chopper to balance him upon her shoulder. Lord Neko. This is Dr. Tony Chopper of the Straw Hat Pirates, the one I told you about. Ah, right. Nekomamushi blinked before going right back to eating his lasagna. He spoke while chewing. So, you Gara are the deer with the devil fruit, eh? Come to try to boss me around? He really does know his stuff, Lord Nekomamushi, Milky tried. Please do as he says, if only to not worry the rest of us. I've already got a doctor, the mink leader whined like a scolded child. Who? Luffy questioned. That sheep guy, he looks like a wimp. You want a doctor that could kick butt like Chopper can? Praising me doesn't make me happy, you jerk, Chopper admonished. Why would I want that? Nekomamushi rebuffed. Then I'd have to do stuff I don't want to. That's the only way to get better. Out. Nya. Nekomamushi rolled his eyes and used his remaining hand to grab the bowl of lasagna and dump the last of its contents in his mouth. Lord Nekomamushi, the sheep mink tried. More lasagna? Why yes, my lord. The doctor took the bowl and fled. Nekomamushi nodded and went back to playing with the bubbles. Chopper sucked in a breath. Milky, do I have permission to manhandle him for his health? The reindeer mink glanced at Chopper, clearly doubting that the small human reindeer had the ability to make the Lord of the Night do anything more than grumble at his presence. None of the other Straw Hats, however, seemed worried at all and only Kanjuro tilted his head. That the cat had not noticed his old colleagues yet showed how little attention he thought the group deserved. Hesitant, Milky nodded. Instantly, Chopper grew into his heavy point and grabbed Nekomamushi by a safe point on his arm. The feline let out a "Jiao" in surprise as he was hauled out of the tub, sloshing water everywhere. Milky, can you get a hold of basil, turmeric, ginger, and peppers, please? Grace, disinfectants. Mary, I'd like to put the most important compounds in an injection. Can you handle making the mixture? Right away. DOCNSWERED, putting special emphasis on his medical expertise. She ran to the medical bag the sheep doctor had left behind and pulled out his tools including a mortar and pestle. The vast majority of the herbs and compounds the local medical staff had been using on Inuarashi, Nekomamushi, and the others who had been wounded by the beast pirates' invasion were there in abundance, so she got to work. Milky hung around for a long moment, surprised at Chopper's transformation and how quickly he took charge of the situation. Glancing at the pirate in question, she turned to retrieve the requested ingredients. Nyagu! Nekomamushi protested, trying to force Chopper to unhand him without aggravating his injuries too much. Stop that! Chopper ordered. You're going to open your wounds again. That's not, Ga. As if Chopper had predicted the future, Nekomamushi went ramrod straight and fell backward, pain on his face as the bandages around his chest and stomach started turning pink. What did I say? By the time Milky returned from the Guardian's food cellar, Chopper had forced Nekomamushi into bed and changed his soiled bandages after soaking the new ones in a mixture concocted with the combined prowess of himself, Mary, and Grace. He was just giving the leader a shot while Nami and Ace distracted him with a cattail puff when the reindeer mink stepped in with the plants. "Doctor, I can understand the basil, turmeric, and ginger, but why the peppers?" she asked, handing them over. Peppers contain capsaicin, the chemical that makes them spicy, but it can also relieve pain in the long term. It can take a few days to work, but should help with any lingering pain after the other three wear off. He took the ingredients, now back in his brain point, and set to work brewing a medical tea. "Neko, are you willing to talk now?" Kinnaman tried, stepping forward. Nekomamushi took a good look at the group for the first time, his eyes widening. "Kinnaman, Kanjuro, Yugara are back?" "That we are, old friend." "Nya." Nekomamushi dove from the bed to wrap the pair of samurai in a hug, rubbing his cheeks against theirs. The motion toppled the IV chopper had stuck in his arm, making the diminutive doctor yell. "I didn't know if Riso was giving us false hope. I missed you, Gara." "We missed you as well, Neko," Kinnaman replied, he and Kanjuro returning the hug. "Get back in bed," Chopper ordered, the tea ready. There was a knock on the door as Inuarashi stepped inside, his lost leg replaced with a peg leg he was still learning to use. "Old dog guy," Luffy greeted. Inuarashi ignored him, he and Nekomamushi glaring at each other. "Neko. Inu." Their mutual glare was palpable, Brook thumbing a tense melody on his guitar to fill the silence. "It's time. We finally have a chance to topple Orochi and avenge Lord Odin." I was hoping that was what Riso's coming heralded. Their glare held for another long moment before, with mutual speed, the pair hugged each other, crying. "The time is now," Inuarashi reiterated as they separated. "We must take them to the whale tree." "I will gather the guardians," Nekomamushi said. "We'll leave in 10 minutes." "At least drink this tea," Chopper demanded. "Both of you." Chapter 85. Riso the Ninja. "Wow." Luffy and Ace marveled as the wooden passage opened to reveal a staircase of the same material. The bottom so far below that it was enshrouded in darkness. "Secret tunnel, so cool." "Secret tunnel," Brook sang, strumming on his guitar. "Secret tunnel." "I'm not surprised to see a hidden passageway," Grace commented as the group, led by Duke Inuarashi and Lord Nekomamushi, started downward. "That said, I didn't think it would be so high up the tree." "The tail is the super perfect spot, though," Frankie said, his hair now shaped to mimic the whale tree they were entering. "If you know where to look, it's easy to find again despite how invisible it was," Coby agreed, happy to be walking hand in hand with Grace. And without Amy or Sanji nearby to glare at him in anger and/or jealousy, he was able to just enjoy the moment without the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. "Yup," Usopp nodded. "Right on the butthole. It is not," both Inuarashi and Nekomamushi yelled, equally offended at the sniper's summation of their sacred tree's hidden passage's location on said tree. The canine mink had donned a blue cape over his simple clothing of an off-white shirt and blue pants, while the cat mink had more of a red color scheme with a pink haremaki and red cloak with yellow circles. "Butthole." Ace giggled from his mother's arms. She sighed, shifting him slightly to cover her face with a hand. It was that or smack Usopp and risk him breaking his neck as he fell down the stairs, a risk she was ready to take and would have if he hadn't moved as soon as Ace had opened his mouth, as if he'd anticipated what was about to happen. She, Luffy laughed, of course finding the whole thing amusing. Gee. Ace joined in. "That seems disrespect," Beppo began. "There is no point arguing with them," Zoro interrupted. "Oh, I'm sorry," the polar bear mink muttered. As the new captain of the Heart Pirates, Beppo alone had been invited to join the excursion as the Straw Hats' ally-in-law's stead. The jumpsuit-wearing crew had discussed among themselves and agreed that they wanted to see their late captain's mission fulfilled, and that involved taking down Kaido. As such, the new captain needed to be made aware of all their plans and information so his crew could best increase their chances of success. "Don't apologize," the green-haired swordsman grunted. "Right. I'm sorry. Are they always like this?" Inuarashi questioned, looking down at where Mary and Chopper walked between him and Nekomamushi, the best place to keep tabs on both of their injuries and overall health. "Oh, no," Mary grinned. "Sometimes they're worse." Foo, Robin giggled, amused. Momonosuke, still in his dragon form, had wrapped himself around her waist with his upper body draped over her shoulders. The archaeologist had her hide a smile whenever she felt the dragon boy shiver from a side eye from a certain green-haired swordsman. Even so, she did not mind the young lord's chosen placement since she knew she was too powerful for anything he could possibly attempt. "Hey!" Luffy yelled from near the front of the pack. "Big dog guy and big cat guy. You said the ninja's down here, right?" "Riso?" Nekomamushi confirmed. "Indeed. I had my guardians chain him up down here in our most secure location. It was necessary to ensure he remained hidden and did not attempt to sacrifice himself for our sakes." "To think you would go so far," Kinemon muttered, sniffling slightly as he covered his eyes with his sleeve. "We truly owe you a debt we cannot repay." "That won't be necessary." Nekomamushi laughed, smacking the tall samurai on the back hard enough to make him stumble. "The Minks and the Kozuki clan have been friends and allies for 1,000 years. There is nothing to be repaid." "The cat's right," Inuarashi nodded. "We chose to keep Riso safe without thought of recompense. We need only your thanks." Nin, Luffy, Usopp, and Ace cheered from ahead, each making silly hand signs with their fingers. Chopper's eyes lit up as he ran to join them, pressing his hooves together. Nin ninja. Can he walk on water in Terabang? Luffy yelled back at Kinemon. "Can he clone himself in Terabang?" Usopp demanded. "Can he throw throwing stars?" Chopper asked. "Is he a master of stealth that is never seen?" Coby wondered, trying and failing to stymie his enthusiasm. "Honestly," Nami rolled her eyes. "Why are all you guys so caught up on this ninja?" "How are you not?" Kaku of all people replied. "From the blues to the Grand Line, from the lowliest orphan to even the child soldiers of the world government, one thing binds all men together, one universal truth. And that truth is this. All boys who have heard about the ninja want to be one, because ninja are cool." Nearly every man, even Zoro, nodded at least once, though Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper were the most vigorous in their silent agreement. Robin turned her head and coughed, trying to cover up her laughter at the ridiculous notion. Even so, she couldn't help the idea of imagining various figures like Professor Clover, Crocodile, or Bartholomew Kuma each alone in a locked room while pretending to be a ninja. She had to press her lips together tightly to not let the others hear her laughter. "I'll admit, that's true for all men at some point," Jin agreed. "That being said, enlightened think monks are cooler and ninja." As one, the other guys turned to stare at Jin for a long moment, the self-proclaimed battle monk's posture cracking more with each silent second. "I'm sorry," Beppo said, finally breaking the silence. "Ninja are still cooler." Jin wilted, muttering sadly under his breath. "Yeah, well, he's not a very good ninja, is he?" Nami said, earning gasps from her husband, son, and other various male companions. Nami rolled her eyes again. "Come on. He got caught, didn't he? And I thought ninja were supposed to be so good that they could break out of anything? So why hasn't he broken out yet?" "Wah wah." Billy nodded. "Exactly," Jin agreed, his spirits buoyed. Well, maybe he, Riso Dono is." Nami and Jin watched as the guys stuttered and sputtered, each trying to come up with some explanation for why she was wrong. "I bet he's choosing to stay out of respect for the minks," Usopp decided finally. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi glanced at each other, sharing an entire conversation with just a look, as if their hatred and rivalry had done nothing to affect their lifelong friendship. "Yeah, that must be it." "Yeah, I'm not so sure," Grace shrugged. "I think the legends are just overblown." "Oh really?" Coby challenged. "Tell me, are the legends of the Grand Line overblown?" "That's different," Grace argued, her cheeks coloring. "The Grand Line isn't a single person. Whitebeard lived up to his reputation, and Doflamingo certainly earned his." "Okay, but we're talking about a single guy from a legendary group. There's no way any one guy lives up to that sort of stereotype." "I believe I can see him," Kinemon announced, sparking renewed fervor in the excitable pirates to meet their first ninja, the kitty trio in particular running down the stairs, chanting, "Nin nin, nin nin." Ace's voice followed them even if the boy himself couldn't from his mother's arms. "Do be careful," Robin called after them. "Falling down the stairs is ill-advised except for the captain." "Release me from these chains at once," a voice from below demanded, the call joined by the rattling of said chains. "I beseech thee. Do not torture me so, I cannot stay still whilst allies perish in my name." "Everyone, behold!" Kinnaman called, running forward as the group's eyes adjusted to the darkness within the depths of the whale tree. "I present to you the ninja of the red scabbards, Riso of the Mist." Luffy and the other men each saw their image of the perfect ninja in all black clothing crack and shatter. Riso was a large man in both height and width, his massive face square with his black hair styled so there were 6 bent appendig large insect. His sharp widow's peak was broken by a crescent scar and framed by thick, lightning bolt-shaped eyebrows. He was dressed in a light blue kimono, its edges lined with orange stripes and dark blue polka dots, all over an undershirt in dark yellow. A green obi was tied around his waist to hold it all together. Framing his body were both 2 diamond-shaped cloths alternating dark and light blue as well as a purple Neo Dasuki tied into a bow just barely poking out around everything else. Finally, his feet wore sandals that clacked lightly upon the wooden floor. His was chained down in a seated position, plates and cups before him, his arms pulled to either side, the chains taut so his back was pressed against a great, moss-covered, red cube. Though most of the group was focused on the man before it, Robin's gaze zeroed in on the massive block that was so different yet so similar to everything she had spent her life searching for. On the wall above the poneglyph, for a poneglyph it was despite the color, was a circular symbol, its black color sharp and well maintained against the off-green of the trees and sides. The center of the symbol was a bird with a long beak, its wings stretched upward and a sun-like image on the chest. A larger circle surrounded by 8 smaller ones. The bird was contained in another circle, this one's outer edge raised in bumps almost like petals with 4 spout-like appendages similar to the crossbones of a pirate flag. Where's the ninja?" Luffy asked, his head tilting. "Is he in the shadows?" "How rude," Kinnaman gasped. "Riso Dono now sits before you." "Kinnaman?" the man asked. "Kanjuro? That guy can't be the ninja?" Usopp denied. "Look at him, he's way too colorful." "And big," Ace added. "The only place he could hide is a circus," Zoro agreed, clearly disappointed. "I told ya," Jin shrugged. "I wasn't expecting much, and even I think this is a letdown," Grace whispered in her lover's ear, not wanting the other to hear. Coby, ever more properly mannered than his crewmates, sighed and nodded silently, not wanting to voice his own thoughts. "Oh, I know," Ace called. "Maybe the ninja guy is just pretending to be all super colorful." "Oh," Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper agreed, dropping fists into their other hands. "That is not," Kinnaman cut himself off with a sigh, turning to the mink leaders. "May we remove Riso Dono's bindings post-haste?" Nekomamushi dug around the fur of his fluffy tail before pulling out a key that he handed over to the samurai, Kinnaman swiftly freeing his friend. Riso jumped to his feet with a speed belied by his size and stature, hugging his fellow Wano natives. "Kinnaman, Kanjuro, I am so glad to see you both. Tell me, what has become of Lord Momonosuke?" The young lord has, Kinnaman placed a hand on his chin, trying to think of the best way to inform his companion of Momonosuke's new powers. Through misadventure, Lord Momonosuke has managed to unlock abilities not dissimilar to Kaido's. Several of our allies here have similar magic and have been attempting to help Lord Momonosuke master his new abilities. "It's not magic," Coby grunted, getting tired of repeating himself. "Devil fruits, while mystical and strange, are not some magic thing. Momo just ate his own fruit." "I do not understand," Riso admitted, missing the way the pink dragon slithered down from Robin's shoulders toward the ninja. "Who are these individuals?" "These are the allies Kinnaman and I found to help us defeat Kaido and avenge my family," Momonosuke said, dragging Riso's widening eyes to his draconic form. The boy closed his eyes and focused, a puff of smoke obscuring his change as he returned for his human image. "My lord," Riso gasped, bowing. Tears dripped from his eyes. "I am so happy to see you alive and well." "I feel the same, Riso." Accepting Momonosuke's response, the ninja looked up, taking in the full group for the first time. His eyes landed on Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, more specifically the former's lost leg and the latter's missing hand. New tears swelled in the man's eyes. My friends, you have given so much for one so lowly as I please. Please tell me, does the Mikomo dukedom still stand? It has been rough, Inuarashi admitted, but we will rebuild. The Kozuki and their retainers have been friends to the minks for 1,000 years. No foe, no matter how strong, shall ever break that bond, no matter the cost. And I cannot thank you enough, Momonosuke reiterated, trying his best to act in the manner befitting his family's legacy and duty. You have to admit that it's amazing, Coby said. Despite everything they went through, all the pain and suffering, not a single mink admitted that Riso was here despite all of them knowing. They didn't even tell us, Mary agreed. We came here with Momonosuke and they still didn't say anything. Pardon me, Robin interrupted. That is a poneglyph, yes. I've never seen one of that color before. And to whom does that symbol belong? That is the symbol of the Kozuki clan, Inuarashi nodded. It has adorned that wall for many centuries. It was put there when the Mikomo dukedom was founded if the legends are true. They say the mink tribe was tasked with the responsibility of guarding that stone by the first Kozuki to establish our friendship. We know your story and history, Nico Robin, Nekomamushi cut in, chewing on the end of his tobacco pipe, puffing away. We also know what you and your crew have done for our allies. If you wish to read the stone, you are welcome to. Thank you, the woman nodded, wiping away a single tear as the mention of her history brought up painful memories. A part of her remembered Professor Clover once saying long ago that he had journeyed once upon a time. Robin wondered if he had ever come across a red poneglyph like the one before her. It seemed likely that he had not or he would have mentioned it. She walked over, running a hand over the moss-covered material, her eyes drinking in the symbols for her mind to translate. Hey, ninja guy. Luffy demanded somewhere behind. If you really are a ninja, show us some cool ninja moves. Excuse me, Riso replied. I am a ninja, indeed, but my skills and training are not the kind meant to be a show. It is not the place of a ninja to seek attention. Boo! Usopp whined. How boring, summon a giant frog to ride. Ninja are more connected to toads. Boo, boo, Chopper and Ace echoed. Meditate under a waterfall, the former demanded. Shoot fire, Ace ordered, his own hands turning to flame. One of Riso's lightning-shaped eyebrows twitched. His eyes closed so he missed the toddler's showing of supernatural power. My abilities are not. Disappointed, Jin grinned. I guess monks really are cooler class. He's probably just some guy skating by on the ninja's reputation, Zoro grunted. Fine. I will show you. Ninpo. Smoke escape jutsu, kya. The ninja threw down a pellet that exploded into smoke and, as it covered him, he vanished. Amazing. Luffy, Usopp, Chopper, and Coby all cried. Cool, Ace gasped. Where'd he go? Frankie questioned. I haven't gone anywhere at all. Riso's voice echoed from seemingly nowhere. He reappeared in another cloud of smoke. I'm right here. And here, another Riso said from another cloud. And here as well, called a third. More and more identical copies of Riso kept appearing until 15 of him encircled and floated over the group. This is my shadow clone technique. Catch me if you can. I want to learn that, Ace yelled. Gotcha, Luffy shouted, taking the challenge and wrapping his stretchy arms around one of the copies of Riso, the pair rolling over several times before Luffy ended up in top. Body replacement. In another poof of smoke, the Riso that Luffy had his arms around became nothing but a log the same dimensions as the ninja. So cool, all of the men cried, even if Zoro only muttered it under his breath. As you can see, I am no joke, but a true ninja. Riso turned as all his copies finished a parry a single individual. He immediately jumped, landing on and sticking to the ceiling of the wooden cave. This is my wall walking jutsu. And he began to run across the ceiling and wall. Amazing. Usopp and Chopper screamed, hugging each other. Absolutely super. Frankie agreed. Riso jumped off the wall and flipped, flicking his arms so that his hands were suddenly filled with small metal stars. Flower shuriken jutsu. Ha! He threw them, the shuriken hitting the wall to create a Wano symbol the others did not recognize, shinobi. Finally, the colorful ninja landed and spun, revealing that he had placed a large scroll between his rounded teeth, the man speaking through the paper as he struck a pose with one hand extended forward and the other behind him. each movement exaggerated. Invisible to the ladies, invincible in battle. The ninja Riso of the Mist has arrived. Nin, nin nin. Nin nin. The more childish men echoed, cheering as the ninja bowed, accepting the praise. We're so sorry for ever doubting you. Grace rolled her eyes, sharing a look with an equally exasperated Nami. Boys, she said, as if that explained everything. I could probably do most of that with my powers if I wanted to. I bet he has a devil fruit and doesn't know it, just like Kin and Kanjuro. Yeah, probably, Nami agreed, a small smile on her face as she watched Luffy pick up Ace to put the boy on his shoulders, their pair boasting the same infectious smile. Mr. Ninja Guy, Ace called. I want to learn ninja moves. Is that so? Riso questioned, clearly having warmed up to the pirates now that they believed him. Do you have any jutsu of your own? Yeah, I'm made of fire, I see, Riso nodded. That makes no sense, do not lie to me. I'm not lying, Ace argued. His cheeks bulged. Watch this, fire dragons. Not inside a tree. Nami chastised. A flash of her perfect gleam attacked a cloud to quite literally rain on her husband and son. Mommy, Ace complained, each raindrop sizzling upon contact with his skin. But I want to show Mr. Ninja Guy my fire so he can train me to be a super cool ninja pirate. We're inside a tree, the woman reminded him, unmoved by neither his plea nor his pleading eyes. Do you want to catch everything on fire? Ace wilted. No, and you could have caught your father's hat on fire. Instantly, both Luffy and Ace sported the same terrified expression. Luffy had not thought about his son possibly misfiring, while Ace had forgotten other people's clothing was still affected by his fire, even though his, and by extension, his own hat, were immune while he wore them. Maybe just something small, Mary suggested, no more excited about fire inside a tree than her companions but unable to see the captain and his son so morose. Plus, who wouldn't be excited at the thought of a super cool ninja pirate? Just enough to show that you can? Okay, Ace nodded as the rain stopped, his logia constitution having kept most of his father's upper body dry while his lower half was thoroughly soaked from the miniature rainstorm. Ace held out his hands so his palms faced each other, well away from his father's hat, and focused. Dear me. Riso jumped as fire appeared between the boy's hands. To use fire jutsu without hand signs. What fuel now burns? I dunno, Ace answered. It just does. I ate Uncle Ace's devil fruit, so I'm now a fireman like he was. I know not about fruits, but you clearly have the ability to become a fine shinobi with enough training. Yay! Ace threw his hands upward, the ball of fire dissipating in the air before striking anything flammable. Thankfully. I'm gonna be a super cool pirate ninja prince. No fair. Usopp and Chopper complained. Excuse me? Robin asked, pulling Inuarashi and Nekomamushi's attention from the group's discussion. She was holding a piece of paper with the poneglyph's translation and her own notes. It seems this poneglyph only gives directions to a pair of coordinates, but it does not give a name to the location, nor does it explain the purpose. What do you know of it? I can see why Yugara would be confused, Inuarashi said. Lord Odin, before he died, did tell us a bit about what he learned of these stones during his travels. He could not read the writing when he first left Wano for his travels, but he was able to, for lack of a better word, hear the stone's message. Though he did eventually find a teacher, his Ryu told him this stone is one of 4, called Road Poglyphs. Road Poglyph, the archaeologist echoed, committing the name to memory. She wanted to ask what Ryu was as well, but her thirst for knowledge about her longtime obsession took precedence. The mention of Ryu, however, did remind her of Zoro's strange knowledge when she and he found the Kochu dagger while they were toys. Perhaps this Ryu was something similar. So, there are 4 of them? Does this one give the location of the next? It does not, Nekomamushi replied, breathing out a puff of smoke. As Lord Odin explained, each of the 4 road poneglyphs gives coordinates, and when these coordinates are plotted and then crossed, they reveal the location of the end of the world, an island he called Laugh-Tale. Laugh-Tale, her eyebrows scrunched. The name sounded familiar, but she could not place it for a long moment. Laugh-Tale, Laugh-Tale, Laugh-Tale. Do you possibly mean Raftel, the final island of the Grand Line where Gold D. Roger hid the One Piece? Is that what they're calling it now? Inuarashi laughed. Indeed. Based on your description, this Raftel and Laugh-tail are one and the same. Musta bin like King's name, Jin commented, his eyes morosely watching Ace choose to learn ninja skills rather than the monk training he'd been offering since the crew got back together. Everyone thinks his name's Gold Roger now rather in Gold D. Roger. It would make some sense, Mary agreed. Her interest in the ninja now sated so she could revel in the presence of a poneglyph. By renaming the island, any previous reverence to it out there may be dismissed as some other place. It'd be like looking for treasure marked with a Y only for someone to have told you that you were looking for an X. It's not foolproof, but it'd certainly be effective. Considering the prominence of Common as a world language, intentional mistranslation isn't a viable option for the world government, Robin nodded, understanding Mary's reasoning. Perhaps the government has always wished for an end to multilingualism, to bury all interest in learning new languages and, thus, also hamper any attempts to do so. It would certainly make their goal of erasing the Void Century a whole lot easier. If that truly is one of their goals, Inuarashi said, then they made great strides with the destruction of Ohara. In no other place was there such a collection of knowledge. Alexandria once rivaled it, Robin muttered sadly, remembering one of the first places she hid once she arrived in the Grand Line. The island had boasted a library that had rivaled Ohara, but it had burned down when a local attempted to cash in on Robin's bounty there. Yet another instance of her presence destroying a beautiful thing when she hadn't the power or friends to protect it. Never heard of it, Nekomamushi shrugged. Anyway, I think we've gotten what Yugara came here for. He looked over to see that Riso was trying to teach Ace a basic ninja kata and that the boy was following along, with most of the men copying them. Yeah, I'd like to move past this, Jin agreed. Sanji and Amy are waiting for us. Soon enough, and with much grumbling from Ace, Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp who wanted to continue their ninja lesson, the group was herded out of the tree and up to the branches that overlooked the entirety of Zunisha's back. Are you guys crying? Chopper asked, glancing at the three full-grown Wano natives. No, Kinemon denied with a strained voice as large, wet tears rolled down his cheeks. Men from Wano never cry. I am not like this, Riso muttered through his own tears, the group looking over the destroyed ruins of the capital city. Zo was not like this when I arrived. It had been thriving and full of life, and yet, my mere presence. How could they have known? Kanjuro questioned. Were they aware the minks were loyal allies to Lord Odin and his family? Perhaps they did, Inuarashi said. It was no secret that Neko and I served Lord Odin faithfully. Pirates like Kaido would know where to search for us. We heard nothing about other searches in other locations. What other locations were there outside of Wano? Nekomamushi questioned. The others, if they are alive, are still there and no one can reach the spirit world to find Kawamatsu, being a kappa and all. That is true, Kinemon admitted. I had heard nothing from the others, though I know Kikunojo is waiting for us in Wano. We shall have his sword squared. Both Inuarashi and Nekomamushi blinked at the samurai's back at his words but did not comment or elaborate. They had assumed that Kikunojo, like many of the other red scabbards, had died that night 20 years ago. Of course, they had thought the same about Kinemon, Kanjuro, Riso, and Momonosuke. Hearing that even one other red scabbard was alive was more important than asking how. Now was no time to question Kinemon on his understanding. Aizu, too, has offered his assistance and men. It will have been a long time since those siblings have seen each other, Nekomamushi grinned. I had heard word of Aizu, Inuarashi commented. He has made quite the name for himself under Whitebeard and that fame has only grown since the Emperor's death and the war. It will not be enough alone, Kanjuro said, unaware of what war the canine mink referenced, but it is certainly a start. I have seen his forces myself. No matter the difficulty, Zo will be avenged, Riso swore. I shall take Jack's head myself if I must. Calm yourself, old friend, Kinemon insisted, placing a hand on the ninja's shoulder. We will have that battle in time, though I've heard word that Jack died in battle against the Marines. Marines? A large organization, as I understand it. Explanation will take far longer than we have now. Yes, speaking of limited time, Nekomamushi turned to the pirates speaking to each other further back on the branch. NYA, have Yugara made a decision? Yes, we have, Nami said, speaking for the group. We'll call to inform them of our arrival and be leaving first thing in the morning for Tottland. What about us in Terabang? Kinnaman demanded. Are you abandoning our quest in Terabang? The samurai shall head to Wano with us, Beppo announced. While the Straw Hats handle their business with Big Mom, the Heart Pirates will infiltrate Wano with you and await their arrival. The polar bear Mink and newly dubbed captain didn't sound excited about this assignment. It seemed the Heart Pirates had done a lot of waiting in the past few months, but there was vital scouting that needed to be done. I see, Kinnaman nodded. I suppose I can accept this outcome. Soon, Orochi and Kaido shall fall in the name of the Kozuki. The Kozuki, Riso, Kanjuro, Inuarashi, and Nekomamushi echoed, their call ringing over the Zo. Now then, Luffy grinned. If we're leaving, we gotta make the most of our time here. How about another feast? And clothing, Nami put in. We're going to a wedding. Whether it goes through or not, we need to look the part if we want them to let us in at all. The Duke of the Day and the Lord of the Night glanced at each other. They grinned, the feline Mink speaking up. I think that can be arranged. And so, the inhabitants and visitors of Zo partied, celebrating the establishment of the Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance. They toasted the recovery of the Mikomo dukedom, to their coming victory over Kaido and Orochi, to the memory of Kozuki Oden, whose adventures were recounted by campfire light by those who had known him best. Musketeers and guardians mingled freely for the first time in 20 long years. The pirates and minks traded clothing, as was customary for the animal people, giving Nami a beautiful purple dress that caused Luffy to need to look away for several seconds after several mugs of the local beer. Frankie and Sunny, whose heart had been retrieved to witness the festivities, spoke with the minks and the heart pirates respectively, the former about stronger building designs and the latter about how Polar Tang could craft her own heart. Ace simply nodded and sang along for most of the night, holding the egg they had taken from Punk Hazard, the shadow inside the soft, green film larger and darker than it had been when he'd last held it before the debacle that had been their visit to Dressrosa. He eventually fell asleep in Robin's arms, the woman having been using her notes from the Road Poglyph to advance the poneglyphic lessons for him and Mary. Kaku spent most of the night fending off interested women begging to see his man-beast form, a problem Coby didn't have nearly as much trouble with due to the presence of his lover and the fact that his zone transformation was a type of lizard and, thus, inherently less attractive to the mammalian minks. He enjoyed laughing at his friend's problems, ale in one hand and grace in the other. The pair laughed as they watched Billy and Jin compete with various minks, both adults and children, to see who could handle the most electricity. Jin, being the literal embodiment of lightning, won easily, making him a popular man for the guardians and musketeers looking to make themselves stronger quickly and drunk enough to take a few risks. The party went late into the night, individuals and pairs either disappearing into the night or falling asleep where they were deep into the morning. All the meat and lasagna was consumed, all ale and beer drank, and all songs and tunes played and sung. The last and only one to keep watch was Brook, the skeleton strumming for his sleeping audience as he kept watch since he, himself, no longer needed sleep. But morning came, and with it, the departure of the Straw Hat Pirates. They waved goodbye to their friends, promising to meet them in Wano, and set sail for Tottland to rescue Sanji and Amy, unaware of the stowaways sleeping in their hold looking for an adventure of her own. End of chapter 85.